The CIA's coercive interrogation techniques were not an effective means of acquiring accurate intelligence or gaining detainee cooperation.
A former senior intelligence officer speaking out against Senator Feinstein and the CIA's interrogation report. Lieutenant Colonel Tony Shaffer, who spent years conducting interrogations against our nation's enemies, saying the methods are not torture, but instead a tried and true method effective for gaining important intelligence. Colonel Shaffer joins us now. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
So tell us when you were involved in these types of interrogations, who was it against, and how did they work?
The only time I can talk about it specifically, which has already been cleared, is in my book, Operation Dark Heart from 2003. There were I did this for 30 years, so suffice it to say, I did it a number of times. So with that said, what she's saying is completely incorrect. Coercive methods work. They work very well. People are trained to do them. We have always done these sorts of things. And when Senator John McCain says, oh, this is not our traditions, we have done this as a military and as an intelligence service since before World War II. So they are coercive. They do tend to make people very uncomfortable, and in the end, they actually do very much pay off. And I'm appalled by the fact that Senator Feinstein and what they're doing is trying to move this line from what is legitimate interrogation over to torture. It is not torture.
Okay, sleep deprivation, isolation. What else do you think is tried and true and okay?
Well, stress positions, making people feel very uncomfortable. Basically, one of the most effective things, as you mentioned, isolation, the idea of picking out certain cultural vulnerabilities and certain psychological vulnerabilities and hammering them. One of the things that I did in the interrogation we've talked about on the network here is that the individual identified a very key vulnerability, something he feared most, and we hammered it constantly. We threatened his life as he knew it. Basically, we said, your life, as you know it, is gone unless you cooperate. And that was a huge motivator, and that played a lot of fear on him, and he changed his mind and gave us the information.
Two things, Colonel Shaffer, you know, these terrorists that we're fighting are not like our heroes in the United States Armed Services. So they don't mind dying for their cause, number one. And number two, when they're in these terrorist training camps, aren't they trained on how to deal with interrogation and at all costs don't give away what's really happening?
Everybody eventually breaks, and this is where I would distinguish between pain and misery. If you hammer someone, and we're all taught to resist this, something called syria training we all go through. I've gone through the same training as everybody else has on this. And you're trained to endure it, but eventually you break. The question then becomes, how do you break someone? If you break someone with pain, they tend to say things to make you go away. If you do it over a period of time to understand how to psychologically break them, the information from that is much more effective and much more accurate. There is a difference, and frankly, again, Senator Feinstein's report completely blows away the distinction and how this actually does work.
Okay, Colonel Shaffer, thank you so much for your time.
All right. Thank you.